But I really want to. What I think is important in this when I reached out is kind of going from when that day, because I think it's important to hear like what she went through and asking for help and never be embarrassed by. Because of some of these parents and what happened with those two kids, they wouldn't even allow the school to release, because you have a choice to release what actually happened or just say they passed away. One parent allowed the school to say that they committed suicide, but this other parent didn't. And I'm like, it's, as she said, a reflection of the parents. And it's not like I've told her, you talk about anything. Like, I'm not perfect. I know that. But to hold back or have a child or hold back something that could help just because you're embarrassed by it.
That's what Sue Longcar said when she was here, that there was a young man from a different school also, and it was never talked about.
I will say asking for help is one of the easier said than done. It sounds so easy, but asking for help was one of the hardest things I'd ever done.
Why? Because you're embarrassed?
Not because I was embarrassed, but I didn't know if I needed help. I thought like maybe I could do it by myself, maybe. But that morning when I woke up, I was in the bathroom and it was like first or second period, and I was like, if I go home, I know I'm going to try to do it again. But if I go to the counselors, I don't know if I can, hold it back. So when I went, I was talking to him and I was like, I had a really rough night because I could not sit in class. It was impossible. I couldn't. And what I actually said to him is why he called my mom. And as I said, if I did not fall asleep last night, I would not be here today. I would not be here sitting in this room. And he kind of looked at me and he's like, I was like, call her. Like I didn't want to do it. I really honestly didn't, but I could not deal with all the stuff I was doing. It was so tired. It was like physically hurting at that point. So, he called her and
when you say physically hurting, like your head was hurting?
Not head, it was body. Everything. Like it was like I felt so heavy. But when I let it out, finally, I kind of just, I took a little breath and I was like, okay.
The weight lifted off your shoulders.
Like a little bit of a weight, because I knew I finally told him like what I was really feeling, and I knew that I was finally gonna get help, and I knew at this point, because we were raised very independently, and I didn't want to ask for help, but I knew. I was like, I can't do it on my own. And as much as you ask your friends for help, they don't know what to do either.
No.
Yeah, they're just as messed up as you. Like,
yeah.
And I feel again, it's back to trying to be vulnerable. It's hard to open up and just be like you said, I need help and I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Mm-hmm. I don't even know why I need help or what I need help with. I just know I feel fucked up inside. And like
one of the things why
I just want to yell. I just want to scream and.
But you also don't know what's going to happen once you open that door.
Well, yeah, a lot of kids, why it's so hard to ask for help is they don't know why they're feeling this way. Because, the one thing they ask you is like, well, why? Like, why do you feel this way? I don't know.
I don't know.
And they're like, well, that's, that's not a good enough answer. And I was like, what do you want me to tell you? I'm depressed. Like, I'm tired. I have anxiety. I have this. This happened. And
but that is a good question. Why? And you have to go deep.
Yeah.
And ask yourself, you got to really go deep and be like, why? I mean, it is a good question. You don't have to know why, but it is a good question to actually go deep down inside and think, why do I feel like this?
I feel like sometimes it is actually truly too much pressure. I can see it. The schools are putting too much pressure. The parents put too much pressure. I am a huge fan of just take a mental break, like take a day off. It's okay. Like what's going to happen? Nothing.
I actually have an English teacher. I had him my sophomore year as well, and I have him this year. He is an amazing teacher. He always, when we're doing our work, he's like, you know what? We're going to take, about like a 5-minute break for y'all to like get on your phones. Cause he's like, I'm as addicted as you guys are to them. He's like, I know y'all can only focus for so long. And like everyone is actually really respectful of him. They get off, once he's teaching, you get off your phone. And whenever he says, because it's short, it's like short. He's like,
but look at that. She's talking about 4 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm talking
a break.
Sometimes if you need 3 days, then take 3 days, and don't like. I find there's a fine line. Like don't take advantage of it. But when it feels that heavy, I find it okay to. We need it. I mean, and we don't take it either. But
for a teacher to do that's a big. He has an Instagram page, and because he does workouts in the room while they're doing stuff like box jumps.
He's funny,
and the kids will put on his Instagram like sightings of him, but like that. But that's like a break. It's not heavy all the time. He's entertaining. He's fun with the kids.
He makes learning fun.
Like he had to read her college essay, which she talks about this. Like,
my
not
gosh.
in front of the class, but with the class all there, and he's reading. It's
but
heavy.
actually, when he was reading it, because I really put everything in there. It's very emotional. When he was talking to me, he was like, he was opening up to me, and he was like, I understand with some of this stuff. Obviously not everything, but he's like, I struggled with depression as well. And he's like, you have gone through so much. And he's like, you really have grown. And he's like, I know how difficult like this. He was being very like helpful and just
empathetic.
Yeah, empathetic. It was, he's an amazing teacher. He's one of my favorites. He just understands.
Give him a shout out.
Yeah.
Mr. Standridge.
Shout
He gets
out.
mad. He gets mad when people call him Stanbridge. It's Standridge. Standridge.
Now,
He's amazing.
Sidney, take us back to that day. Like now you are in that room, and when they sent your mom out, what did you tell the nurses and doctors in there?
Well, when she left, my heart definitely did drop because I really understood the situation of you mean in the
hospital? Mm-hmm. Like when you were at Children's for
evaluation.
Children's
Okay. I will say the lady who came in to evaluate me I did not like her. And I was, obviously I'm going through all this stuff, and she's, well, why do you feel this way? That's, blah, blah, blah.
She's like annoyed.
She's just running through, like, not even, I couldn't even explain it, but she was, at one point, she was like, you don't like me, do you? I can tell.
God.
Yeah, no, she asked me that, and I was like, yeah, no, I don't. I was like, can you leave? Like, I'm done with you. And she was like, you don't have to be like, I understand you don't like me, but we have to do this. And I was like, in my head, I was like getting ready to like stand up and like get out. Like I'm literally in a hospital. I just try to end my life. And you're sitting here. Oh yeah, you don't like me, do you? No, shit, I don't like you. Like you're treating me like crap. And so when she finally left, she was talking to you. That's what I said. It wasn't sentimental at all. She was an ass. Like I wanted her out of the room.
But you had told her that you had tried to. That's why they put the room on lockdown.
Well, yeah. Oh, God, that was horrible, too. I had, like, this nurse outside the room at a desk watching me lay in the bed. I was like...
It was an experience.
You just feel so, like... They took my phone. They took everything. So I'm, like, sitting...
Jewelry, clothes.
Yeah, laces. They had we had to go in the bathroom, and they have to, like, check for marks. And one of the nurses said, they're like, you have a really good body. And I was like,
what?
Yeah.
What?
They're like, yeah, I was kind of like,
what?
I was like, thanks.
Taken back.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think she meant it in a weird way, but like,
but like the fact they're talking this way and the seriousness of the situation.
Yeah.
That could keep somebody from actually being honest about what happened. And then they go home and like there needs to be a better team of like people dedicated just to evaluations.
It was kind of like a little aggressive.
I didn't feel
it
didn't feel aggressive. It just felt like
there's no like
protocol, checklist.
Yeah. It just felt like
there's no emotion.
I just felt like, a chicken in a line. Blah blah blah. Do that.
And they were full. They couldn't even get her up to the level that's on lockdown.
They're already numb to it. So to them, they're just
their whole level was full of kids that were there for suicide.
Wow.
They have a floor that's locked down, and she couldn't even get up there.
That's sad because that's a whole nother thing.
Young, when we got up there, young kids.
I mean, it's one thing to get there and to be brave enough to actually like admit, okay, I need help, and then once you get the help, it's like
you're treated.
Fuck, this is not what
I regret saying anything. I want to leave.
Exactly.
It literally is embarrassing. Like you feel.
So
like it is degrading because you feel like they don't believe you. Like it feels like they don't like, oh, it's just a phase. Like she's just doing that to get
spoiled.
attention.
You're from Highland Park.
You're spoiled. Like you you're fine. Like people go through so much worse. And like it felt horrible. Like it, you know, it's just I don't
You
know.
have something so good about that you say.
Well,
all
I
the
just
time.
feel that it's unfair. So I think this happens a lot, and I think everybody is guilty of this sometimes, is that I tell everybody we all get dealt a hand in life.
Mhm.
So maybe for you, or not you, but anybody, maybe breaking down in the middle of the highway is their worst day for them
Mhm.
because that's just how they grew up.
Yeah.
And then for some people, they've been through a lot of trauma.
Mhm.
You know, they didn't have a parent, they had a drug addicted parent, they were in foster care. Like they just happened to have this hand dealt.
Yeah.
I think it's very unfair to compare
Mhm.
Yeah.
and say, well, you don't understand. At least you don't have dot, 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 dot. And it's like,
Exactly.
well, I didn't live that life.
Yeah.
So for me, this is very traumatizing. So I feel like people need to be sensitive to the fact that, okay, I've been through a lot in life, but that doesn't make her problems less because
Mhm.
to me, that would not be a big deal.
Yeah.
So I feel like
That's
there's
100%.
yeah, there's not enough softness for people. We always we're comparing. Well, you
Mhm.
at least you can go through this. Let somebody have a bad day. Let
Yeah.
somebody have a bad moment, and that's okay. Now, should those bad moments drag out? No, I don't think
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
either. Like at some point we have to move on. But I think that I have seen that myself.
Mhm.
Like, well, at least it's like, well, just let them
Yeah.
have this moment to be upset about their test.
Yeah.
I know that some people don't understand that. Like, well,
Mhm.
why are they getting upset that they got a B and at least they didn't fail? It's like, well, for them,
That's
Yeah.
a lot.
that's a lot.
Yeah.
So then that's okay because we're all individuals.
Mhm.
I say if we're all the same, it'd be boring. And, you know, we just have to be okay with the difference in
Yeah.
everybody and be
well,
empathetic.
yeah. And if your job as a nurse in a children's hospital, and this
Right.
is Dallas Children's Hospital, there's got to be some more protocol to how large this suicide thing with children, younger and younger, is for whatever reason.
I'm telling
And then
you,
these are the
there's pressure.
nurses talking to them the first time. Like, there can't be an experience like this because that's going to
I
make you be like, wait, because she hasn't asked me yet
Mm.
if I've hurt myself, but I'm already feeling this way.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a problem.
There's a
I
lot
will
of
s-
trust involved in that.
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. I will say when I did go to the actual hospital, the mental hospital, it wasn't the the therapist that, you know, helped me. It wasn't the people that, you know, the adults. It was actually the other kids. It was so, you're in a place where, you know, you hear crazy stories about, you hear, because I, like, whenever I went in there, it was during night. So everyone was asleep.
So
I
this
was
is
like,
the mental health.
yeah.
Yeah,
facility.
let's rewind that a little bit, that experience. 'Cause
Well,
that
yeah.
was,
When I went in, it was during the night. And
well, they took her by ambulance because they had to. I rode in the
Yeah.
ambulance.
Oh,
it was pouring rain.
Wait,
And we-
so let's rewind a little bit more.
What?
What happened to get to that?
Well, they just, after she said that she had tried to, they locked down the room.
Okay.
We had to wait to get to the other level.
So you were in children's
Children.
hospital,
Yeah.
and then you went in an ambulance to the other
Mhm.
hospital. Okay.
Then they took me.
They had to call around and see where there was a bed. They're so full.
Yeah.
For children only. She actually went to Green Oaks, which is part of Methodist up off Coit
Sorry,
in 75. And they have a children's wing. Because I'm like, Green Oaks, I've heard about that for adults, but they have
Yeah.
a children's wing and they had an open bed. It was like midnight, pouring rain. And Juliana, my daughter, had come up because the other two were at college. She came up with us. And I rode in the ambulance with her. And I mean, it was just like, you're just in the motion. It's like you don't
Yeah.
even know what's going on. Like, they won't leave your own child out of your, like, I can't be with her alone.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very, you know, and
I actually,
she was so calm.
I was messing with the guys in the ambulance when they put that thing. You can see your monitor, and I was like pressing it. I was, because I mean, it was in such a serious situation that I didn't want to sit there and just be like, oh.
They were nice.
I was bored. I was sitting, like, obviously, like, I was not feeling great, but like I just wanted to do something to cheer myself up, so I just kept messing with it. Definitely, you were. It probably
I was sobbing in the front. The whole
Yeah,
time. I rode in the front.
So how long did you feel that sensation that you wanted to leave this earth? Like, did you still feel it when you were in the ambulance, or did you just feel it at that moment, and then this shit happened, and you're like, okay, you know what, this maybe not, but or did you still feel that?
I felt it always. I would be, even before, I would be sitting in the car and I'm look at a building. I just look at so many things and like, oh, I could kill myself with that. I could jump off that building, I'd die. I could.
No, but after leaving the hospital and you're in the ambulance going to the other.
Oh yeah, I just look at things like, oh, there's a knife right there. Like I could just.
And then even when you were like in the ward, you still had those feelings.
I mean.
Or was it just like that moment, like just like you were so frustrated, you're like, ugh.
It definitely
and then it went away, or
it's in the back of your head. It's not like it. You know, you're not always like, oh, I need to find any way to like do it. I mean, some people that it is like that, but you know, when I'm in this, you know, building, there's really nothing you can do. You don't have laces. You don't.
How are you feeling inside though? What's your mindset?
I wasn't feeling anything. I mean, like. I was numb.
She was
I was just calm. I didn't know. I wasn't crying. I wasn't.
But you're like, okay, I'm in this institute, so
we had
I'm
to
good
check
now,
in.
or I still feel like
when we
like
checked in,
we were sitting in the waiting room for a long time, and the ambulance guys had to stay there until she was like in, and so it was very.
There was like one person in there that was.
When we went back, they let me go back with you.
Yeah, I know. But when we were in the waiting room, there was someone running around.
Oh, yeah.
Like a patient, I think. And she was like in the corner and she had her hoodie on. And I was like, oh, okay. Now it's like really, like we're really in here. And she like ran down the hallway and all I hear is like screaming like, no, don't touch me. And I was like, oh, okay. Like now.
Did that scare you?
A little bit, yeah. Because I was like, I hope that's not someone my age. Like,
and now you're like, oh shit, I'm going into that. Like, I'm changing my mind, or am I like, do I still feel?
Yeah,
you're like, they wouldn't even let you.
Well, I mean, I'm
for her.
For you. I mean, are you like?
Well, obviously I didn't want to be in there, but like I can't do anything now. I have two giant ET guys or
right, but are you in your head? Are you feeling like, okay, I still want to take my life, or are you feeling like,
well,
you know, this is real now, and like I feel okay, I've come to my reality, and this is not what I want to do.
I wasn't like thinking anything, honestly. Like I was thinking of what was gonna happen next. I wasn't thinking of like harming myself. I wasn't thinking of what was going on. I was just kind of nervous to.
But I remember you telling me, maybe because it's so. I remember everything from a day when you said when you were there, you had a sense of relief because you knew you'd be safe, like even from your own thoughts, because you were in a place that everybody knew what was going on. Where that was the first time that you were in that environment.
Yeah. When I got into the room, it was like, what time was it? It was like late at night. I don't know. Everyone was asleep, and when my mom finally left the room, my heart kind of sank. I was like, oh,
it's real.
Like I'm really here, because before all of this, when I went to talk to my counselor, I was like, I know if I tell him, I'm gonna go to the mental hospital, and I know if I don't, I don't know. Like So when I was in there, I was kind of like, crap, like, ooh.
Cry for help.
Yeah, I was just, it just became real. Because, you know, I felt so like out, you know, disassociating, just kind of not thinking until I really was in that situation. I was like, oh, like it really hit.
So did that make you feel more safe or more erratic?
I felt, I don't know. It felt just real. I just never really dealt with any of my stuff. I didn't really think that much into it. But when I got there, I was like, oh, wow. I really like hit the bottom.
How long were you there?
A week. I wasn't there that long. But I remember when I first was in there, they have to like take your blood and all that stuff. And she was like, you know, they were trying to make jokes like to make me feel better. And I was completely silent. I wasn't smiling. I was just in there just kind of like
numb.
Yeah. And
that
she's
was
like,
probably the most traumatic part of it. I mean, and when you said your heart drum, I think for both, like when I left that room and you leave your child and it was like pouring rain, like I had full breakdown because I was trying to be strong for her the whole
And
time.
you feel helpless.
I was outside in the pouring rain, like just full breakdown. I was leaving my child, my baby, in this place and like you could hear the craziness. There's cops bringing people in, like that were, and you're like leaving your child here.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a feeling you'll never.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Like, and I don't have access to her. She can only call like once a day. Like I've been with these kids since they were born. I've worked from home. I've been like sacrificed everything to be with them. And that was probably, I got my other kids to come home from college. I was like, we're going to all talk about this. This is not going to be a family secret. Cause the way I grew up, it was, you don't talk about things. Like we hide things, cause.
Oh, thank God you're smart. When you talk about it, it's probably the first step too.
Well, I wanted her siblings to be involved, and they went to sibling day. There was parent meeting or parent group therapy where you go in, made every one of those, but I wanted them to be there and know what she was going through, and support her and do whatever. But it was very. I didn't feel like I didn't feel like she belonged there, not because of what would come with that, because I don't care, the stigma that comes with it, but. There's kids that like were younger than her that go in there like once a month because that's their safety.
Mm-hmm.
Like the stories she would tell me, like they were more safe there
than they were with their parents.
Did you do anything to harm yourself before? Because I know that kids will do the cutting or they'll do other things. Were you into that at all before or no?
For me, no. I didn't. I did it before, but like it didn't give me any relief. I had no.
So you weren't just like self-harm stuff?
No. I did have another way of kind of harming myself, but I'd rather not kind of share. It was it is a common thing, but it wasn't any way of like harming myself. It was just kind of almost demeaning myself in a way. But I was never
a common thing.
No, well, not common, but
Are you not want to say it because I'm in the room?
No, that's not. I mean, I didn't.
I literally am only asking because
no, I know
of other kids that I mean, that's the only reason why I'm.
I'm just trying to think of like a way of.
I mean, I can go to the bathroom.
No.
Say it. Like I'll hear it later, but if it makes you feel more comfortable.
It's not you. I mean, I just.
But when you say that, but it's good for this to reach kids.
Yeah. I mean, I was just demeaning myself. I had no confidence in myself. I didn't feel, pretty. I just kind of looked for validation in men.
Okay. So
that makes sense.
So there was a video I saw of Pete Davidson, and I'm sure we all know who that is. And he had said that, he battles depression and he was suicidal. And somebody asked him, very candidly, like, do you think about it still? And he said, yes. And he was kind of in a joking way said, but I can't because I have my mom and people who love me. And the way that I say it is not in any way to be like insensitive, but did you think about your mom and your siblings and what if you were to do that in your mom's house, what that would do for them?
I did. I definitely did. 'Cause whenever my friend killed himself, I was hearing stories of how they found him, and you like TikTok too, they would talk about how they found their loved ones like that. And actually my English teacher talked about how he had some people in his life kill themselves, and he was like, I couldn't imagine the person who found them and how they felt about that. And I definitely did. I did think about who were to find me, and how traumatic that would be for them. But I was just so tired I had no help. I just was hiding it so well, but also crying for help at the same time. And I just felt so invisible that I was giving up. Like I didn't know what to do.
I have a question for you because when Sue Longcar was on the show, and she spoke about when Grace committed suicide, she said that she had heard and she feels very strongly that they don't realize it's really forever.
Yeah. You don't think about it. All you're thinking about in that moment is, I want to end this pain. I want to end this suffering. It's not that they want to die. It's they want to end the suffering. They want to end the pain. They're tired. They can't, you don't have the motivation to move. You don't have the motivation to think. You don't have anything. You feel so empty to the point where
where you just feel that your life is just, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
you feel like you don't see a future. You're tired. You don't want to think about having to do this homework. You don't want to have to think about having to deal with, getting raped. You don't want to have to deal with anything that had gone on, and it's tiring. It takes an emotional toll on you of trying to heal. Like, healing is hard, and it takes a lot of self-patience and it's difficult, and you just want to give up. You don't want to.
Where
do
are
it
you
anymore.
today?
Today I will say I'm so much better than I was ever. I finally learned of ways to deal with my stuff. I've learned that I can't take on everything, and I can't be so hard on myself. I'm actually very proud of myself of how far I came, and I do work very hard to help other people understand the importance of asking for help. And I'm saying, if people are talking to me and saying all this stuff, I'm like, look, I can help you in the best way I can. You can ask anyone, any of your friends, but you are not going to get the help you need until you want to get yourself up. Because I will
Absolutely.
say, you will not be able to grow or get better until you yourself wants it. Like that's one of the biggest things is back then is I was so self-doubt. I didn't want help. I didn't want this. And I, wasn't thinking about what the actual problem was. It wasn't this, it wasn't that. It was myself. Obviously, I'm not like blaming myself, but I need to have the strength to face my own self, my own thoughts, and say, I am myself. I have the power. I can think what I want. I can choose whatever I want to do, and I can choose to get better. Obviously, easier said than done, but until you want it yourself, if you want it that bad, you will work for it. And if you don't want it that bad, then you will get worse. Like, there's no way of kind of putting it. It's like with anything, honestly.
So what are some of the things that make you the happiest now, or what do you look forward to? Because I think that that's important when people feel like they're in the depth of despair. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. What are you happy the most about, or what do you love doing the most that you're happy you didn't do that?
Well, I will say one of the things that helped me start feeling happier about whatever I'm doing was baby steps.
Mm-hmm.
Taking one step at a time of, if, you have what they call the depression room, if your room's a mess, if you take one piece of trash and put it in the trash can, and if that's all you can do, then reward yourself for doing that, because you got up and you took that one piece of trash and threw it away. That's one step of getting closer to two pieces. And so every day you'll kind of do these little tasks, but you have to realize the importance of rewarding yourself and understanding that to you, that task was hard. Maybe to someone else, they're like, oh, that was easy. I don't know why you're, seeing that so difficult. But to you, that was hard. And just then you just stepped on it. You just beat it and you got up and you threw it away. That is one step of getting better. And obviously it does take a while, but it really does help. It's a big step. It may seem small, and to other people, you have to kind of learn to start blocking other people out, because they're going to tell you that was easy. That shouldn't be hard. Clean your room. It's disgusting. I am, but I'm going to do it day by day, and I'm going to do it how I want to, because it's how it's helping me. You have to learn to really take charge of yourself and your feelings, and maybe healing, it's different for everyone, but you have to keep trying different things in order to get better. So it definitely, it took a lot of time and, pain and, friends. You have your friends and your family to help you, and they helped me through a lot as well. And I got to the point where I had to tell my friends, I'm like, look, I want to help you, but right now where I'm at, I am not able to deal with the same, I can't help you with your situation right now because I can't help myself. So I'm going to have to take a break, and you're going to have to ask someone else. Because what someone told me, actually what my therapist told me, was as much as, if your best friend's having an issue, it is not your problem. Obviously you want to be there for your friend, but it's not your problem to deal with. It is theirs. You can be there to help, but you have to remember it is not your issue.
Also, too, people just want to vent. I mean, when they tell you their issues or problems, they just want you to listen. They're not really asking to solve
For sure.
all these issues.
Sometimes we do that to ourselves.
Yes.
Take it on the face.
And as me being a man, when a woman comes to me and asks me or tells me their issues and their problems, I feel like I have to solve them. But, I've learned, that really they're just people, not they, but people just, they just want you to listen and maybe understand. Not always understand, but maybe understand. And solving the problem is, beyond.
I actually started asking my friends whenever they would tell me their issues. I was like, well, do you want a response or do you just want me to listen? Do you want help or do you just want me to listen? Most of the time, they're just like, can you listen? And I'm like, yeah. So they'll tell me all their issues, and I'm like, let's understand. They kind of just want validation. And I don't mean that in a bad way, because I do the same thing. We want validations if you're in a fight with someone, you want the validation of, I should be angry, right? That's right. And so I will be there to be like, you know what? That is a valid point. You should be angry because they did that. That is a valid point. You should be sad because that happened.
But at the same time, you should be like, nah, bitch. It's on you.
I think one of the biggest things for me is communicating. I'm not a very angry person. I've only yelled at 3 of my friends in my entire life, angry yell. But I'm one to communicate what's going on. I'll be like, hey, I'm angry because blah, 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 and I don't appreciate you doing, blah, blah, blah. And if they start getting angry, they start getting frustrated, because, when you get angry, you say stuff you don't want to say, and you say stuff that probably doesn't make sense. But when I stay calm, it does piss people off, because they're like, she's so calm right now. You should be angry. Why am I not? Because you can, if I'm just sitting here, if you were yelling at me, I'm sitting here yeah, that's understandable. You're like, no. I can't, you can't be nice right now. You can't be chill. I need you to be angry too. But it does, I feel like it really gets the point across whenever I sit here and I'm like, hey, I'm upset that you said this to me, and I don't feel comfortable when you say that. And they're like, oh, what do you say to that? You can't just yell at him. You kind of just oh yeah, okay, I'll stop doing that. I'm sorry. I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's a lot more efficient.
Have you forgiven yourself yet for the?
I will say, not for everything, but I have forgiven myself for a lot of the stuff I have done, and that is a big part of healing, is forgiving yourself and understanding that was a mistake, and you learn from mistakes. This is one of the biggest things I learned from soccer is some mistakes, are bad, but you learn from it and you don't do it again. And sometimes if you do it again, you got to learn from that as well. You know, you can't be so hard on yourself for making a mistake, because we're all human. We all make mistakes, but you have to get to a point to where, when am I going to stop blaming myself for everything, you know? Because that's what I would do, is I blame myself. Oh, you know, this, you know, tree fell because of me. Like, you know, just stupid things you start blaming yourself for, but that really does take a toll, because you feel like the whole world's against you. But when you learn to finally stand up and be like, that's not my fault.
What are your plans for once you graduate?
I actually want to go into psychology. I mean, that's it's very interesting, and I want to be able to help other people who are going through the same thing. Like, obviously I can't help everyone, and everyone has different experiences, but I want to teach psychology in high school later on, because, you know, I want people to know that, like, school's tough, but, like, I want them to have, like, you know, like how Mr. Standridge is to me. I want to be able to be there for that student or any student, and to know, like, you can come to me and I'm not gonna shame you. I'm not gonna sit there and be like, oh, you know, that's not that hard. Like, deal with it. I need you to get this done. You know, there's definitely different ways of dealing with students and how they get their schoolwork done, because it's tough. Like, when you're this age and you go through high school, you understand the pain, and when you finally get a teacher who's like, oh, I understand that, you're like, oh my God, wow, they're human, you know?
It's
and
empathy.
Yeah.
Empathy. And a lot of people don't have it, including myself. And
You don't?
Empathy.
Oh my God, I'm the most empathetic human.
I don't know.
being
You
ever.
showed
I
showed some
know.
empathy today.
I think
I think you showed some empathy.
I think you totally. I mean, you're a hairstylist, for goodness sake. Like,
Yeah,
how
you gotta
women-
listen to everyone's problem. That's a personal.
I think
hairstylist
you're
and
actually. I
therapist.
don't find you that way at all. No,
No,
matter
you
what.
don't say that.
I'm unemotional. I really am.
You do say
and,
that,
and
but-
that's why I definitely relate to you. And I think it's a Capricorn thing. You know,
I mean, I'm telling you,
Yeah.
Capricorns are like hardworking, but like they don't show their feelings a lot. I'm telling you.
But
I mean, it
Seriously.
just
That's me.
Actually-
What I do. Yeah.
my friend, she's a Capricorn too, and she's just like you.
Yeah.
I will say,
yeah.
there's like two different Capricorns.
you were telling us your story, and I was like, wow, like I relate. You know, I mean, we deal with things different, but
Yeah.
I totally can relate to
Yeah.
everything that you're saying.
Well, some of that I think you're, being raised in a Latin family, but my like kind of saying the single mom. I'm like, I cannot hear what you're saying. Can you stop crying? Like, I can't
Yeah.
fix.
Yeah.
I just need to fix,
Actually-
because I need to move on to the next
Yes.
one. Like, I need to fix it. Like, you're crying, and I think that's. I mean, besides my oldest, probably the most emotional.
Yeah.
Like we all.
Actually, like if I'm talking to my friends about something and they start crying, I feel so bad now that I think about it. But I'm like, don't cry. I'm like, don't cry yet. I'm not done. Like, I'm like, give me a second. Because if they're crying, you're like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, like, what do I do? Okay, like, you know, you do the.
Pat him on the head.
But I also don't like physical touch that much. So they're like, oh, I need a hug. I'm like, oh, like, all right, like I'll do it, but
I'm a hugger.
I'm not a
Yeah.
hugger. I'll be honest.
No, but you definitely her strength. I mean, she's really changed our family. She's changed the family and how we relate to each other. I've definitely, I think, worked on myself, like realizing and taking accountability for missing the signs and my shortcomings, because obviously that all you need to take that on without becoming the like woe is me and like making it about you, But even the other
in your
kids-
defense too, I mean, you went through a lot at the same time as well. I mean, you are only human as well. So
Yeah. And she
Um,
never has, she told me when we were in the hospital room, and I think she realized it finally hit me. And I don't cry. Kids never see me cry. And it hit me like when they locked down the room, and she's crying too. And she's like, I've never blamed you. From the beginning, she's been very verbal about that. I always tell the kids all the time, I'm doing the best job I can. I know I've messed up, like trying to limit how much therapy you have about me growing up. But she's changed the dynamic of the family. My son, actually, who's 21, he, after hearing her ask for help, has asked to go to counseling, because he's had some depression stuff, especially the dad and other things. And so he had the courage then to ask for counseling. And he's like we don't talk about anything. Such a boy. He's been raised by very dominant women in the house. Like, hasn't had a voice at all. But he asked for help and to get counseling because she had the courage to and strength to stand up and fight past giving up. And I mean, it really has changed the way we talk in the family, being more open and like not just, hey, you know. I think, I mean, how do you feel about that?
I mean, no, yeah, I definitely see a difference, and I think we've all gotten a lot closer because in our family we're not like the huggy lovey type, like we're like, I hate you, they're like, I hate you too, but like in a loving way, you know. We're like the fight, like we fight, but that's how we show our affection. We don't talk about our feelings that much. I will say Angel is very emotional though. I don't know how she
remembers.
She can listen. I mean, like that's a good thing.
She
like,
is. No, she is the most. My oldest, which is kind of crazy because she is the most pressure. Has had the most pressure.
Yeah, definitely. She's definitely been our protectors growing up. She was like a second mom, and especially like going to our dad's, she would protect us always from him. And like I remember Nathaniel had thrown some like styrofoam on the wall outside of our apartments, and my dad was like, Nathaniel, you have to go pick that every single piece up with tweezers. So he was out there and he was crying. This is my favorite thing that I've ever seen Angel do. She gets the vacuum, plugs it in, and walks out. She's like, move, Nathaniel, starts vacuuming the wall. And I had always looked up to her for, you know, being there for us. And I mean, me and Angel aren't super close, but I do look up to her, and she's very strong. She's emotional, but like she's strong. Like the stuff she has gone through and how she's dealt with it, it's very inspiring to watch and to grow up with.
Well, I feel like you're here for a reason. You have a lot of help to give to a lot of people.
Hope.
Do you feel this way?
I do. I really hope I can like help people, because being at the bottom, being very low and feeling that way, I would never wish that upon anyone, even if I hated them. I tell everyone that I'm like, I would never wish that upon anyone, because it is it's horrible. Like it's just the worst feeling you can feel. And I mean, obviously I've only experienced 17 years of life, but it's definitely kicked me so far. But I want to help like other people realize that you can get out of it without, you know, dying. Like there's a way to get better. It just takes some time and some motivation to accomplish.
You're very brave. This was, you know, very difficult, and you have this opportunity right now, you know, telling your story and everything. What is it though that you want to tell, you know, out of all this in this podcast and your audience listening right now? What do you want to tell your peers, the people around you?
I guess I would say don't think that you can do everything on your own, because you can't. It's impossible. I tried to do it myself and it doesn't work. So find what helps you and stick with it.
It's okay to ask for help.
It's okay to, I mean, you know, you hear that from everyone, but it really is okay to like ask for help. As much as it may seem embarrassing and, you know, demeaning, it's okay to ask for help. You don't have to tell anyone. Just find that one person you do trust and tell them straight up. You can't beat around the bush. You have to be straight up. You have to be like, look, I'm done. I'm tired and I don't want to leave, but I need help. And it's hard. It's definitely the hardest thing to do, but I think it is, you know, from my point of view, I think it is one of the bravest things to do is to ask for help. Because especially this age, it's not common, but it changes everything. I was scared. I knew going into asking for help, I knew it was going to change my whole life, but I didn't realize it was going to be such an amazing change, because it did change my life, but it changed for good, in a good way. And I've been able to help my friends in a better way than I've ever had before, without, you know, putting everything on me in a bad way, but like in a healthy, I've just learned to deal with things in a healthy way, and I've being able to teach my friends how to deal with stuff in a healthy way. And it's just amazing to watch someone grow out of, the hole that they're in. So.
How about you, Mom?
What do you have to say?
Oh,
What you want your message to be?
Maybe to parents.
Mhm.
And be real. I mean, if you got something.
no, I think one thing I noticed really when she was at the hospital, and I don't know how to, they talk about all the white privilege and stuff, but a majority of kids in the hospital were of minority. And from what I've heard, especially Hispanic families, like there's not much, I mean, you would know more than that I would, of like, there's no room to say that you're depressed or like that isn't and so she's fortunate to have, I've dealt with a lot of counseling in my past from stuff, so that I'm coming from somewhat, healthy, but there's so many kids that don't, like I said earlier, going to the mental hospital is their safe area. So, they don't have the parent that's even when they do go ask for help. And so I think it's just like the more awareness counselors at schools can have of being open and like noticing stuff in children and not just overpassing and becoming so numb to every year different kids and becoming numb to students, becoming numb to seeing what they're going through. Nurses in these hospitals, like
it's
training.
a real thing.
Training of like there needs to be specific because this could be their one chance if that's their only person they can tell and protect them, and then what else is going on in their house and why going home makes it worse. Because they're not everybody's fortunate as to have more people backing you up. Sometimes it's them, So, I mean, it is, but if you do embrace it, if it does happen with your children, like there's no embarrassment that should ever, or like, this makes me look like it, but I've never even thought that. Like, I don't care. I don't even care, like, what anybody else thinks. I don't care. I don't have to live with them. I have a job to raise my children, to love my children, support my children, and whatever anybody else thinks, like, it's.
But in the beginning, like we talked about Park Cities being such a huge problem because it is like brushed under the rug and all that kind of stuff. So that I feel like the pressure there is even higher.
It just all depends if you want to fit in. I mean, I was raised in Washington, D.C., and we were raised in really nice neighborhoods. So I've kind of, to me, it's like nothing's like I don't care about fitting in. I've always kind of been my own person. I know that in these type of neighborhoods, there's a lot of dysfunction. You may be walking around looking like you're happy, but they're Xanax, alcohol. Like there's a lot. I mean, she knows from her friends' parents. And that's one thing we always do talk openly about because, like, I don't care what these people think about me or fitting in. So, and I've had parents, like, they're like, what happened to Sydney? And the one good thing that happened when she went to the hospital and didn't go back to school, literally that's 2 weeks before the, like, shutdown of, like, the world
Where
happened.
Everyone had to go home.
So nobody was going to remember.
Yeah.
Not because it mattered, but, like, when she went back to school, nobody's going to remember that she wasn't there because everybody had to leave school.
I will say, though, with Highland Park, parents being rich, the way they deal with their kids' emotions and anything, they just give them
Money.
give them anything, yeah. But that's
not
why,
everybody's rich there, and that's part of the pressure.
Yeah, not everyone is, but
that's part
to
of the
the
pressure.
rich kids, that's what I mean by, they definitely seem like spoiled, but if you think about it, if you go into step in their shoes, of course you want that lavish life, but your parents are never there. They just give you whatever you want, but the only thing you do want is their like love,
Attention.
like attention, like their actual want to not like I don't want like just don't give me this like give me you like if that makes
your
sense.
Emotions, your love, your.
But that's the way they show it. They just give them whatever they want.
Well, kind of like what you were saying earlier about like somebody's bad day is different, and so these kids, it looks like you walk into Highland Park's high school's garage, it's like Range Rovers, Mercedes, BMW, but they're empty.
They're empty.
They're sad. They're trying to fill it with whatever, and that's their bad day. It may not look like somebody that's in South Dallas or whatever, but it doesn't matter. Pain is still like an emptiness and feeling abandoned from your parents. It's the same feeling.
Yeah.
Whether it's here or there, and that's what they talked about in the mental hospital talking about that of like, it doesn't matter your background. Pain is pain.
Mhm.
Right.
Abandonment is abandonment. You know, your parent
Yeah.
not being there because they're working all the time or because whatever.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
not there.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming on.
I know.
Thank
it
you
was
for
Very
having
brave.
us.
I'm very proud of you for doing this.
And I'm
And
sure
I'm-
you've definitely helped some people for
You
sure.
definitely
I hope
opened my
so.
eyes. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely different when, I mean, because I feel too that, like, you know, I can relate to, you know, the younger people, and that's me. I feel like that. You know, I don't know if it's true or not,
I feel like that.
but but then, you know, listening to your story, and I'm like, man, like, you know, maybe I am kind of disconnected because, I mean, you really don't understand
Mhm.
stuff like that, you know. And then, like you were saying, you know, I feel like you're like kind of like a liaison between, you know, the parent and the kid.
Always
And
been.
I mean,
Forever. I love it.
It really is good to have maybe someone in the middle to kind
Yeah.
of, you know, that can relate to both.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's something to think about. That's a good.
Well, that's why I reached out after hearing. I just randomly, I was working on one of my investment houses. It was late at night, and I don't even know how I found it. And I was just, well, Grace Longcar was in my son's grade.
Oh.
He knew her, and that was something he had to. And so I was like, oh. And then I started thinking, I was like, I asked you first, of course, because I'm like, it's really still new, but you always hear the parent after the fact.
After, yeah.
I don't even know what time I remember. So hearing, I think for kids, what would mean more, you know, somebody their age, somebody
And
in
their
their
age,
set
yeah.
struggle.
Felt that same way.
I would love to get like a panel of like different kids from
Teenagers?
Highland
Just, yeah,
Park
put it-
and from like different like
They need like all
schools and just,
Ursuline,
like, yeah.
St. Mark.
Well, here's the thing. Actually, what's kind of funny is I have some friends in Frisco, and I remember I went to a party and these kids asked like where me and my friend were from, and we said Highland Park, and they're like, oh, we need to stop talking to people. Like, they're from Highland Park. People will literally not talk to us because we're from Highland Park. They will avoid us with all, like, because Highland Park has such a stigma of being like rich and snobby. Like, it really does hurt. I mean, like, I was like, wow, like, you're really just going off of these.
It
like,
has the
rumors.
whole opposite.
Yeah, they're like,
Oh, yeah.
no, they're from Highland Park. We can't talk to them. Like,
Even
don't
the
talk to them.
HP cops don't want to deal with the HP kids. Their
Yeah.
parents are
Well,
horrible.
actually, HP kids are very like actually well behaved. Like, they're, you know, you'll see parties in Frisco, like they'll throw rocks.
I was
in
just
their
gonna
houses.
say, I don't know. I think Frisco is worse.
Yeah. Well, no, they'll
It
throw
is.
rocks at people's houses, but like here in Highland Park, they'll help clean up. They'll do whatever. Like, they'll pay if they break something. Like, I mean, obviously, but
Personally, I'm not trying to dog what anybody's saying right now. It's not an area.
yeah.
It's parenting.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the day,
Parenting.
I have been around kids from
That is
every
true.
Yes.
freaking area,
that's true.
low class, high class,
Right.
whatever you want to call it. And it is, I can have the same kids in the same room from the same school. It is parenting. It
But it's
comes down to the parent.
100%.
Also, environment. You know, when
Environment.
one kid
and-
is like being
yeah.
good, like if everyone's being good, why would you be bad? Like,
Right.
you're just gonna be the.
yeah.
it's-
No, that it's so true.
It's not just because I think you hear like Plano, everyone was ODing from heroin. And now in Highland Park, you're saying that everybody is like suicide or whatever
Yeah.
it might
South
be. South Lake, whatever it is, I think parents have got
Yep.
to open their eyes to what is going on with their children. I don't care. You cannot just hand them money. I taught a lot of kids in Coppell. We've all talked about this a million times. I've said it a million times on this show. You cannot put blinders on. You can't go to bed at 10 when your kids are still out. I'm sorry. Like, I don't care how you think you've raised them. They're kids. They're teenagers. They're going to try to push the boundaries at some point. So I think you need to be aware in every single area. To be honest, from my experience with teenagers, and I've done it a very long time.
You do. And I know a lot of parents that go to bed early. That's
Yeah. I will say Highland Park is not as bad. Like, you know, we all kind of joke like, oh, we hate it here. It's full of, you know, rich, spoiled kids. It's really not. Like, you know,
Who
there's
jokes about that?
No, actually, definitely.
It
all of
has
us,
changed,
but-
though. I think it still sticks
Yeah.
to this old stigma. There's a lot of families coming in, especially like University Park, that are younger families. I mean, way more diverse than it ever was. Like, it's changing, but people like to hold it to this
Of course.
Yeah.
thing that it is different, even since I've been there. Like,
Yeah.
but there was some really positive things. Being a single mom, my kids could walk anywhere after school.
Of
Other parents would
course.
see them. Oh, I saw Nathaniel walking over here. There was a safety about it that was nice.
Yeah.
And other parents accountable and like being like picking them up because it was so easy, taking them to stuff when you have 4 kids going to 4 different things. So, I mean, there's definitely, they've
Right.
built a good community of
Yeah.
helping each other,
Yeah.
dogs getting loose, whose dog is this? Like, there's a very
Positive way as well.
community.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
there's
It's just you gotta
negative
look
and
at the positive
positive,
stuff,
of
yeah.
course. And I think just being aware of the pressure that kids have with social media, school, and their parents. Like, I don't even know if sometimes parents do it on purpose because they're not thinking that they have pressure at school and their friends and social media and everything else. They just push them to, in their ways, maybe the way that they were raised. Like, this is what you do. So I think every single person can learn from it in as a whole, I guess.
And take a break sometimes. That's my biggest thing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the pushing and the pushing. And I did it too when I had heard. It was like it because I didn't know any better. And the more you're in it, you think you have to do more and more and more. And they have to do more. And the racing and the running becomes insane.
Mhm.
So sometimes just take a break. I had a doctor tell me a long time ago, this is how our family functions. And it's a little tidbit. And maybe it will help you.
How do we function?
Anytime you have something happen, no matter how bad it is and how bad it feels, because that again feels different for everyone, right? You can have 3 days, take 3 days and
Oh,
feel
yeah.
as sad as you want to be, pull your pillows over your head, whatever it is.
Mhm.
But after the 3rd day, you're gonna have to get tough and you're gonna have to get up and you're gonna have to open your blinds and make your bed
Mhm.
and you have to go
Yeah.
deal with whatever it is, no matter how bad it gets. It's something that has always stuck with me,
Mhm.
and it's extremely helpful because they
Yeah.
say after 3 days it becomes a habit.
Yeah.
Fall into
So-
depression, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
But allow yourself to have some,
Yeah.
and then that's it.
allow yourself to have, but
Yeah.
it can't linger because
That's-
then
Over.
The
Yeah.
thing about personal motivation, what I mean by like, you need to be able to help yourself because
Right.
you can't rely on anyone else.
No.
There's a saying of you can lead a horse to water, but
Yes.
you can't make him drink.
Yeah,
Until
exactly.
the horse itself wants to drink, it will.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to want it yourself
Right.
before getting help from other people. So
Well, thank you again, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you
And
so
thank
much.
you everyone for listening.
Do you want their social media?
Yes. If anyone wants to get in touch
Sydney,
with
you
you,
should give yours. Yeah.
Instagram, Sidney Cruz, SYDNEY CRUZ 00, and that's it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I love that their last name is your name.
I know.
yeah.
That's why
Thank
we'd
you.
always. Yeah.
Thank you.
You want to reach out.
Oh, we have a picture